Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today we're diving headfirst into the wonderful, terrifying, and often baffling world of North Korea. Since 2017, North Korea has been on a diplomatic roller coaster, oscillating between testing the patience of the international community and, dare I say, attempts at rapprochement. It's like watching a geopolitical game of ping pong, except the paddles are nuclear weapons, and the players are really bad at hiding their disdain for each other. So, buckle up as we unpack the top 10 events that have defined North Korea's chaotic journey over the past few years. From fiery missile launches to awkward handshakes with world leaders, we'll try to make sense of it all. 2017. Remember when fidget spinners were all the rage and the world wasn't on the brink of nuclear annihilation every other Tuesday? Good times. For North Korea, however, 2017 was a banner year for thumbing their noses at the international community. They were like that kid in school who, after being told not to eat glue, decides to not only eat the glue, but also huff it, inject it, and wear it as a fashion statement. We're talking about a relentless barrage of missile tests, each one seemingly designed to push the limits of international patience and the tensile strength of Donald Trump's Twitter account. And let's not forget the main event. North Korea's 6th nuclear test in September of that year. This wasn't just your run-of-the-mill, hey, look at us, we can blow things up kind of nuclear test. This was a big one. Experts estimated it to be several times more powerful than the bomb dropped on Hiroshima, which, to put it mildly, is not ideal. The world, understandably, freaked out. Sanctions were slapped on, angry speeches were made at the UN, and Twitter went into full meltdown mode. Remember that geopolitical ping-pong game I mentioned earlier? Well, in 2018, someone decided to swap out the nuclear paddles for a couple of awkward handshakes and some lukewarm diplomatic platitudes. That's right, 2018 was the year of the summit. First, Kim Jong-un surprised everyone by not just talking to South Korean President Moon Jae-in, but actually meeting him in person. They even held hands. It was a truly bizarre sight, like watching two sworn enemies awkwardly trying to navigate a middle school dance floor. Then, in a move that would have seemed utterly unthinkable just a few months prior, Kim Jong-un met with then-President Donald Trump in Singapore. The actual summit itself was, well, it was something. It was. After the whirlwind of summits and photo ops in 2018, you'd be forgiven for thinking that maybe, just maybe, peace was about to break out on the Korean peninsula. North Korea, in a move that shocked pretty much everyone, announced that it was suspending its nuclear and missile tests. They even went so far as to blow up parts of their Punggye-ri nuclear test site, which, you know, is a start. Now, I'm not saying we should all be breaking out the champagne and party poppers just yet. After all, North Korea has a long and storied history of making promises they don't keep. But still, this was a significant gesture, and it seemed like Kim Jong-un was genuinely interested in at least exploring the possibility of a world where the Korean peninsula wasn't constantly on the verge of going nuclear. Of course, this being North Korea, it was only a matter of time before things went sideways. Well, folks, it seems our brief foray into the sunny uplands of diplomacy was about as long-lasting as a cheap umbrella in a hurricane. By 2019, the honeymoon phase of the Trump-Kim bromance had officially come to an end. Remember those denuclearization talks that were supposed to usher in a new era of peace and stability? Yeah, those went about as well as a vegan barbecue at a slaughterhouse convention. The talks stalled, primarily because neither side could agree on what denuclearization actually meant. It was like trying to order a pizza with someone who speaks a different language and has a very different definition of what constitutes a topping. The US wanted North Korea to completely dismantle its nuclear program before any sanctions were lifted, which, to be fair, is a pretty reasonable request when you're dealing with a country that has a history of lobbing missiles around like confetti. North Korea, on the other hand, wanted sanctions relief up front as a show of good faith before they even thought about maybe, possibly, considering reducing their nuclear arsenal. As the relationship between the US and North Korea soured faster than a gallon of milk left in the sun, Kim Jong-un decided it was time to find some new friends. And who better to befriend than the guy who also seems to enjoy menacing the West and has a penchant for military parades? That's right, folks, it's bromance time with Vladimir Putin. Now, Russia and North Korea have always had a bit of a frenemies thing going on. They're both communist nations with a shared history of paranoia and a deep distrust of the West. But in recent years, their relationship has blossomed into something, well, something a bit more concrete. This newfound camaraderie was put on full display in 2024 when North Korea decided to send over 12,000 troops to help out their Russian pals in Ukraine. After years of keeping their borders tighter than a pair of skinny jeans after Thanksgiving dinner, North Korea decided to do something truly unexpected in 2025. They opened their doors to Western tourists. Now, I'm not talking about your typical let's go backpacking through Southeast Asia kind of tourism. This is more like let's go on a highly curated, government-sanctioned tour where we're constantly accompanied by minders and told how amazing everything is kind of tourism. The lucky few who have ventured into the Hermit Kingdom have been treated to sights such as the towering statues of Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il, the immaculately empty streets of Pyongyang, and the ever-present propaganda posters extolling the virtues of self-reliance and denouncing the evils of Western imperialism. It's a surreal experience to say the least, like stepping into a time capsule from the Cold War. Just when you thought things couldn't get any weirder, North Korea decided to throw another curveball. Remember all those diplomatic overtures, the summits, the promises of denuclearization? Well, it turns out those were about as genuine as a politician's campaign promise. In 2025, North Korea basically said thanks, but no thanks to the whole denuclearization thing. They accused the US and its allies of having absurd plans, and basically told them to shove it where the sun don't shine. Kim Jong-un, it seems, has decided that his nuclear arsenal is his security blanket, his comfort food, his best friend in a world that just doesn't understand him. And to really drive the point home, they've been busy ramping up their weapons program, testing new and improved missiles that are definitely not designed for delivering holiday greetings. Remember those 12,000 North Korean troops that were sent to fight in Ukraine? Well, it turns out that fighting in a war, even one as chaotic and brutal as the one in Ukraine, can be a bit dangerous. Reports started emerging of significant casualties among the North Korean ranks, which, to be honest, isn't all that surprising considering they were basically thrown into the meat grinder with little to no training or support. This raises some interesting questions about the sustainability of North Korea's involvement in the conflict. Are they willing to continue sending their young men to die in a foreign land for a cause that doesn't really benefit them? Or will they eventually cut their losses and head home? In a move that can only be described as peak "we're living in a simulation" energy, Russia decided to send its wounded soldiers to, wait for it, North Korea for medical treatment. Yes, you heard that right. The country that's basically a giant isolated prison camp is now responsible for patching up the wounded soldiers of a global superpower. It's like something out of a dark comedy, only it's actually happening. Now, I'm not a medical expert, but I'm pretty sure that sending your wounded soldiers to a country with limited medical resources and a questionable human rights record isn't exactly the best way to ensure their well-being. So, where does that leave us? Well folks, if there's one thing we've learned about North Korea, it's that they're about as predictable as a toddler on a sugar rush. They've spent the past few years oscillating between diplomatic charm offensives and nuclear saber rattling, leaving the world constantly guessing as to their true intentions. One thing's for sure, North Korea is not going anywhere anytime soon. They've made it clear that they're here to stay, and they're not afraid to use their nuclear arsenal as leverage to get what they want. The big question now is, what do they want? Are they content with being a regional power, or do they have grander ambitions? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure, the world will be watching, with a mixture of fascination and trepidation. North Korea, the enigma persists. Well, there you have it, folks. North Korea, everyone's favorite volatile, unpredictable, and slightly unhinged neighbor. From near-apocalyptic nuclear threats to awkward diplomatic encounters, they've certainly kept us on our toes over the past few years. The one thing that's clear is that North Korea is a country that defies easy categorization. They're a complex mix of contradictions, capable of both great cruelty and surprising moments of humanity. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments what you think the future holds for North Korea. See you next time.